Come on.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm and we are streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorite shows. My name is Nick. Andrew and Tristan are here just like they are every single week. Happy Friday, guys. What's happening?
Another long week, another stressful week. But we're here recording on a Friday night. That's just like we talked about last episode, right? So,
yes.
So that feels up. Tristan's muted.
No, I'm not. Quiet.
Oh, never mind. But yeah, like we were talking about last episode, starting the weekend with the podcast instead of ending it. This feels normal. This feels natural.
This feels so much better than what we have been doing. Now, the shows have been good that we've been doing, but just the timing feels so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot going on. Man, I'm in such a good mood. I'm in such a good mood this weekend. There's IndyCar finally starting their season. Got my Dixon shirt on. I got my Focus ST out of storage. I was able to drive that for the first time in months. That felt awesome. We've got all of the parts and pieces needed to get my cart ready are either here or will be arriving in the next 2 days. So I've spent the last couple of days just like I normally procrastinate, and it's like 2 days before I'm just thrashing to get everything together. I'm changing it up this year. I'm doing like one thing, maybe two, whatever would run me to about a half hour a day, just every day, just plugging away, getting one thing done, and it feels awesome. So I'm coming into this, plus, as you mentioned, Andrew, recording on a Friday instead of a Sunday, so we're kicking off our weekend instead of closing it. I am in a fantastic mood.
So this is like a new racing approach for you, right? You're trying like a more measured mentality going into the season.
I guess. I think I'm sick of thrashing on the Friday before our opening weekend with dirty looks from my dad, who's always drafted in to help me finish it.
Well, all right. Okay. I was trying to put like the positive spin on it. Maybe like, Nick is getting, he's new levels of focus. I'm trying to think of some good like sports words or metaphors they use for like athletes who come back. You know what I mean? What did they say about Alex Smith that we can say about you now?
That I'm a good game manager.
Good game. I was going to say a focused veteran.
Renewed focus and determination from the veteran.
Yeah, exactly. Right there.
Sure, you got to change my mindset to get through all the hardship.
Yeah, right. The hardship of well, I mean, you know what? COVID. So let's count that.
Yeah, hardship. It's not almost getting my leg amputated, but
still though. Anyway,
I'm stoked for this weekend and the upcoming weekends, and the fact that we're doing this on Friday. I'm on a different plane today. It's great.
Speaking of different plane, I'm just going to get right into car stuff here. Different plane. Two things that I have to talk about kind of simultaneously. The first one is that Meg and I drove the new Tucson, and Hyundai announced the Santa Cruz. So they're both based on the same platform, both roughly the same internals. The new Tucson is a crazy piece of kit. Like the stuff you get in that thing is insane. The sound system like has built-in like ASMR action. Like there's rain, there's like a forest setting, there's like rain, there's like snowy village, crackling fireplace. And as much as I hate that ASMR stuff, I would actually listen to that in a car. So is that weird? Is my first question.
I feel like that's all stuff that would put you to sleep.
Or is this when you're driving?
Yes, when you're driving, you can activate all of these like soundscape modes. I forget exactly what they called. I didn't grab a picture of that. I just grabbed a picture of the snowy village thing on the screen because I could not imagine that was happening. But yeah, it's like, a wind blowing through the trees and like the crunch of snow underfoot and all this shit, like as built into the sound system.
That's weird.
Is it weird? I think it's weird, but
I think it's kind of weird.
However, it's maybe it's only in its execution, because I was reading an article about Mercedes' new electric luxury sedan that they're coming out with, and it has a designated night mode. Nap mode. Nap mode.
Why?
Nap mode.
That sounds bad. Don't do that.
It's one of the only cogent, well thought out responses that I've seen to having to stop to charge your electric car. You plug in your electric car, and then it sets the HVAC to a suitable temperature. It sets the internal lights to low. It rolls up the sunscreens, and it puts starry skies on the dashboard and plays soothing sounds to help you nap while you're charging your electric car.
Okay. You know what? I'll be honest. I avoided all coverage of that thing because of how long the press release was.
I literally only saw a highlight about nap mode.
I only saw tweets about like 39,000 words or something like that, and I was like, no, that's not for me. The next thing is the Santa Cruz, which is, I guess, based on the Tucson. So they're essentially like the interiors look identical. But the Santa Cruz is that little truck that we saw, feels like it probably was 5 years ago at the Chicago Auto Show. And remember, they brought it there and it had that like extendable bed.
Yeah.
So they actually made the truck. It does not have an extendable bed. However, I was super curious about it because, the marketing wank is it's like, oh, it's a new segment or whatever. What it is a smaller Frontier. So it's like 10 inches shorter than a Frontier lengthwise, shorter vertically as well. But other than that, it's actually kind of identical in all the other sort of angles to a Frontier. Short bed, was it 48 inches? I think. Yeah, 48 inches. So short bed, but they put the 2.5 liter turbocharged N line or N engine in the front of it, which is, like 275 horsepower, 310 foot-pounds of torque. So you get that with the all-wheel drive, and you get 5,000 pounds of towing capacity.
Wow. Okay.
Which seems like a lot. And, I actually think that they may have created something. Obviously, it's not convention breaking in any way, but I think they have created something that might create a group of people who are interested in Hyundai trucks. And then what happens? Like, what is this leading somewhere? Are they looking mid-size? Are they looking full-size? Like, is there going to be a 3 years from now sort of thing where Hyundai launches into the truck market kind of like Toyota did? You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Like small, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, although it was back in the day, everything, nothing was unibody, so that's not quite the same, but like basically, it was Toyota building small car-based trucks, and then now they've built their way all the way up to the Tundra.
Right, yeah, which is like legit. You know what I mean? People just buy those now, like as a repeating thing instead of getting their Chevy or their Ford. Like that truck has its own following. So I don't know if that's where this is going, but this impressed the heck out of me because once again, they've just, to my eyes, they did everything right.
So this one is basically competing with like the Ranger and the Colorado? It's that small, or is it smaller than that even?
Ridgeline, and smaller than those, right?
It's smaller than all of those actually. They do a lot of comparison to the Ridgeline. However, it is like noticeably smaller than that.
I mean, I think, I mean, you're going to get a quality product with Hyundai. Like they did their homework on it. Personally, I think the front grille looks a little
That's
weird.
what I was looking for. I was looking for a name. The Ford Maverick.
That's the one.
That's
the Ford Maverick.
So that's the class that they're working in.
Wow. Okay. So really small. Personally, I think the grill looks a little weird, but it's going to be a quality product. I mean, you've got that going for you with Hyundai Kia Group now, and I do think, Andrew, this is leading into something. They're going to start. The next thing you're going to do or hear about is the midsize, and then the next thing is going to be the Silverado and F-150 Challenger. I think we're a truck country. Like if you want to play in the U.S. market, it's SUVs and it's pickups. So this is their first step into that pool.
But that's such a steep ask, right? I mean,
oh, totally.
I'm just thinking. Obviously, they have a long distance to go, and not that they're the same company, quote unquote, but Hyundai Heavy Industries makes like big rigs. They make trucks.
Yeah, trucks. Yeah.
So there is a division of the company that knows about that aspect, like the heavy lifting aspect of trucks. But I'm just thinking, all right, even if, I mean, I just happen to like this truck because I think it's a cool concept, and the fact that they saw excitement and put it into production, however many years it took to actually get it right, they did do it right. So if they can kind of take that momentum and use it to launch towards that huge hillside of, so basically it's Ram and Chevy and Ford, and then just under that it's Toyota, and just under that it's Nissan. But I mean, there is space to slot in somewhere there, but I think that it's so hard. I mean,
I think they could easily punch up and eat the Ridgeline's lunch with the next larger truck.
I think so.
Then honestly, if I were Hyundai, I'd leave the big trucks to the companies that want to build big trucks.
Yeah.
If you're talking about just competing to get market segment, easily, build something on the Telluride platform as a truck and knock out the Ridgeline, bing bang boom, and then as its own thing, build an actual body on frame truck to take on the Tacoma. And then I might, I would stop there, depending on if it was like a huge success. If they took on the Tacoma and it was a huge success, maybe then, okay, maybe change your, adjust fire at that point. But you could easily, with something based on the Telluride, just eat the Ridgeline for breakfast.
I think so.
Oh, breakfast and lunch.
No, it's not big enough for that.
It's not large enough for that.
I don't think anybody comes into the truck game targeting F-150. Like, I don't think anyone is crazy enough to say we're going to go out and knock Ford off the plateau. So,
well, yeah,
I think Hyundai could dig into that Toyota Nissan market share pretty significantly if they do it right. My question, though, is, does this mean we are going to see a rebadged version of it as a Kia?
I wonder. Well, actually, you pointed two things I was wondering about. The first thing is the Kia thing. I don't think they'll go for it. I don't think they're interested necessarily in trucking out at Kia, although there was the whole, I mean, remember the marketing push they did for the Telluride. So, I mean, that could be something. But I wonder if there is a play here specifically at Nissan, because of the way they handle things, right? Nissan has had the same products on the market for, like, their development cycles are so long. And
about
Hyundai,
10 years.
Yeah. And Hyundai's got the system down to essentially use the Veloster and usually like the Sonata or another car as like the lead in for the parts, right? So the 8-speed wet clutch DCT started in the Sonata. It got a bunch of use there. They put it in the Veloster N. You know what I mean? Like they have a way to move new parts in through their line. And I think they also have the ability to quickly redesign the outside. I mean, they do that they follow the Toyota plan, basically. They do it every 18 months with the Elantra and the Sonata and the Tucson, more or less, although that one kind of languished. But, they can do that quick turnaround. So it wouldn't be something like Nissan where they let the Frontier be the same for 2 successive generations over at least a decade. Like, and I wonder if Hyundai sees that as an exploitable gap in the market.
I think they definitely do. And I think I think the timing is right to go after it because there's so much other shit that Nissan's got to worry about right now. So there's one competitor that's not going to be
strike now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on at Nissan, which, side note, if they're only updating their models every 10 years, the 2022 Frontier, if we're stuck with that design, with that look for 10 years, I'm not going to be complaining. I think it looks so much better than the last run they had. Oh my God, it looks so good.
Yeah, it does look pretty. It does.
Like they actually got that one right, at least on the outside. Maybe the inside still cheap plastic Nissan shit, but at least from the outside, the new Frontier looks
wouldn't be surprised.
Glorious.
Yeah. Oh man, all of this really makes me wish that we just would have the opportunity to go to a car show at some point this year, just to see all of this in one place.
Or create our own, like we talked about a month ago.
That's right. No, but I mean, like a Chicago Auto Show style.
Industry show.
Absolutely,
yeah, industry show
for sure.
Anyway, so that was the news. The new Tucson's awesome. The Santa Cruz looks amazing. All right, they just moved. Hyundai just moved by releasing the Santa Cruz, but let's see what you do next.
To be determined. Hey, I've got just to stick with the theme of truck / SUV markets here. We've actually got a question based on our last episode from a listener that I want to discuss with you guys. So this is from Sean out in California. He got to us on Facebook. You can search Check Engine Podcast if you'd like to do what Sean did. And he says, do y'all think that Ford, knowing the Bronco Sport was going to be introduced, was responsible for killing the Flex? I would imagine they would have similar target audience, and Ford was just trying to make sure the Bronco Sport wasn't competing against another Ford vehicle.
That is not something I considered, but it makes a heck of a lot of sense.
The part that tripped me up here is, would the Flex and a Bronco have the same target audience? Because you have to try to relate it back to like what's the Bronco really going after, is the Jeep audience, or we called it a failed FJ. So would someone who was shopping a Wrangler or an FJ a few years ago also be shopping a Flex when it was? I don't know.
Well, what I'm wondering is, so I saw another Bronco on the road this past weekend. It was the other one. So last time I saw the square one, which I think is like the
regular Bronco,
the regular,
yep.
And the Sport is the one with the looks like a car you'd want to drive. It looked a little better, but I do think actually, now that Sean brings this up, there would be a risk of the Flex with a dedicated buying group already, because there were people who just liked that car and would repeatedly buy that car, cannibalizing the business from Bronco, which, I mean, already, even though they've only sold about 12, though they pre-sold 12 million, they're already talking about Bronco stores, which is so stupid. Anyways, clearly this is like going to be Ford's thing. They see spin-off brands, and I guess they want to go after that with a smattering of SUVs. Like, I don't know, the whole thing kind of makes my head hurt, but I think he's got a good point. I think he's right.
Tristan, what do you think?
I think I'd be hard pressed to see the same people shopping a Flex and a regular Bronco. Now the Bronco Sport, maybe. It depends. I would say it depends more on what they were after in the Flex. If it was because what I need to know more of is like dimensions and stuff like that to make a final answer on that. But the Flex was surprisingly large inside without being super tall. It was basically kind of if you go way back to 30s 40s station wagons where they were big boxes low to the ground to carry a bunch of people and baggage. It looked very much like an old school station wagon, not what we think of a station wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's a lot of crossover between somebody that would buy even a Bronco Sport and something like that if they were looking for kind of a more car-like SUV experience. But I would need to know more about what the Flex was like in that regard.
Okay, so I just pulled them up here. The Ford Flex was actually like a lot bigger than the Bronco Sport. So the Bronco Sport, 173 inches by 74 by 70. The Ford Flex, 202 inches by 76 by 68. So
that was my
longer.
Gut instinct was that the Ford Flex was a lot bigger. So I don't know that there wouldn't have been space for both of those. Was the Flex 3-row?
Ooh. I don't actually know.
I don't remember.
I'll look it up.
Well, unless it's huge, as we experienced when we took the Ford Explorer 3-row to Chicago, most 3-row SUVs just aren't. But if
two
they're
and a
looking
half.
for some, 2 and then a row for children. I don't know that those would cannibalize each other because I think it's a much larger, very different experience. You might end up by dropping the Flex, shoehorning former Flex customers into either an Explorer or like a regular Bronco, but I don't see it overlapping with the Bronco Sport at all.
Well, in fairness, Ford has shown that they've been willing to leave no stone unturned in their endless pursuit of fucking everyone over out of the car they want.
I think that's the answer Sean's looking for right there. He also goes on.
It was in response to it only in as much as the response was screw you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He also goes on to say, by the way, I love the new Broncos and they seem pretty sweet. The Broncos with the Sasquatch package and sticky tires are easily keeping up with Wrangler Rubicons out here on the trails. If I could choose between a Wrangler or Bronco, I think I am going with the Bronco. Sean, I think you can have them. And we'll stick with the Wranglers for now.
I don't even argue on like an off-road capability thing. Like, it may very well be that it's they may be very similar, and they may the Bronco may even be better. But I just don't care for the way they look, the way Ford has behaved around them, the whole thing. And it may very well be that the aftermarket catches up, but it's like, if you want an off-road vehicle, almost no one is going to keep them stock. You're going to change something, and the Jeep aftermarket is and apparently always will be simply phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. The Bronco would have to grow into that space. The Jeep's already there, and I just don't like the way it looks. I don't like Ford's marketing around it, and the Jeep aftermarket. I think that's the deal breaker for me, as someone who is more, of the three of us, interested in off-road stuff.
That's true.
The Bronco is impressive. It's a great technical effort, but I don't like the way it looks. I don't like Ford's behavior, and I'm not convinced that the aftermarket will be there. And that's why I wouldn't choose one over a Wrangler yet. I can deal with ugly if it turns out that it's a fabulous fabulous off-roader with immense aftermarket support, super reliable, super capable. I just put a paper bag over its nose, and then it'll be fine. But I just can't go there yet.
So here's something. I in my mind, when we were talking about this last week, never bothered to put it up against the Wrangler. I don't. I mean, so I guess the first thing to say is I don't particularly find the Wrangler appealing or attractive. I think it's a meme, and I think they're about equal. Like, I don't particularly love either of them in the looks department. So, I mean, in my mind, then if it is the equal of it in terms of capability, then it's a pick 'em. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Cost.
Does it cost more?
I don't know. I'm saying that's what it would come down to for you.
Right. Yeah.
It's probably just that's the
Yeah,
biggest factor at that point.
Coin flip, paint colors, stupid shit like that.
Well, for me, it would have to be a Wrangler if it was paint colors because I know they come in orange. So done.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
right.
But hey, thanks, Sean, for writing in. It was a great question.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
And we want more of y'all to be like Sean and send us questions because we have time to kill and we will answer them on the air.
Wow.
We have time to kill.
So do we have time to
And
kill?
and if you're listening to this, apparently so do you.
Come on,
Yeah, exactly.
don't self-listen.
So, Andrew, do we actually have time to kill? Or we haven't told anybody what we're actually here to talk about tonight.
No, we've been talking for a while. So here's the thing. While we're talking about new cars, it's actually right on line with the topic tonight. There are 20 some brands in the US, and there are just only a few, very few, that have at this moment a genuine Halo car. So a Halo car isn't just like a really nice or top end model, something like this is the first thing, right? So a Halo car is meant to be the pinnacle of your design, your technology, your performance, everything in one car. And what we have right now are a bunch of brands that make a bunch of really, really nice cars. I mean, the Honda Civic Type R, is that a Halo car? I don't know, because then when you could go to the brand neighbor and you look at the Acura NSX, you go, yes, this is a Halo car. You look at the Lexus LC500. Yes, that's a Halo car. Is the Supra a Halo car? Probably not. So what I want to do is kind of look around the landscape, see who's got Halo cars, see who maybe could use a Halo car, and then see if we could figure out what it would be for a brand that doesn't have a Halo car to make one.
This is going to be a super interesting discussion. The first thing I was going to ask out of the gate, Andrew, for you was about the Honda Acura thing, because I would not consider the Type R to be a Halo car. Nice car,
so.
Great car, awesome engine. Not necessarily a Halo. Acura NSX, totally, but it's only sold as an Acura here in the States. Everywhere else, It's a Honda NSX.
I mean,
that's the tricky part too. Is like when you look at the brands and then their associated like luxury or sport brands, you can't can you or can't you? I guess it's not a statement on my part. It's a question. It's like, do we look at Volkswagen Group or do we look at Volkswagen? Like you've got the Golf R and the GTI, which are kind of considered dueling Halo cars, almost too many Halo cars in one stable. But strictly for Volkswagen, you don't put them up against the R8 or the e-tron RS. Like you don't put them up against those because they're from the same family, but they're not from the same
or
brand
any Lamborghini or Bugattis.
Yeah,
what else is in the VW
anything.
group?
Yeah, it's like So that's the question for me is like when you're looking at just Honda, and I know that's just in this country, unfortunately, because then if you go to other countries, it blows up the whole idea because they're all Hondas. But there's Acura here, and it's the NSX, obviously for Acura. But then for Honda, if you look at just Honda, they've got really they're pushing technology on that engine, the differential, a whole bunch of other stuff that is kind of pushing the brand forward, and they're using that motor as they're selling it as a crate motor. They're threatening to put it in a bunch of other vehicles. Like that's kind of the development car for Honda. And so that's the question is Halo car. We have this thing in our head, like, oh, it's this magnificent thing that everybody aspires to. But it's people aspire to it within their brand. Like, I want to buy a Honda, but if I'm going to buy a Honda, I'm going to buy one of these, fill in the blank, whatever it is. And that's your Halo car, even if it's lower down the food chain of overall cars.
Yes, I think you're exactly right about that. So in my mind, we can answer the first part of that by saying the brand or the brand name inside a brand group should have their own, right? And Honda and Acura specifically is a little bit of a thing, simply
because
because
they're depending on what country you're in, they're the same thing or not.
right. But let me pitch you something based off of what you said, Tristan, which I think is actually really inspiring about the Type R engine. I mean, what if there were to be a Halo vehicle for Honda as they are right now? We know they're big in hybrid technology. We know they're big on the Type R engine. What if it was something as bonkers as like a hybrid Civic Type R engined CRV? You know what I mean? Like a super lush CRV with the performance and taking the knowledge of the stuff they learned from the NSX and put it towards something that we know that they want, which is to retake the crown on that market. They want the CRV to number one seller. They don't want the RAV4 beat them, but they want it back.
Yeah, because I mean, when we talk about, and you maybe kind of, dial it back and go back to the beginning and Tarantino this thing of, for people who aren't aware, of what a Halo car is. When I was looking this up, I found a really great definition of it from the Auto Buy-Tell, of course, of all things. Basically, they're meant to be a shining high-tech accomplishments that show off the best of what an automaker is able to accomplish. And a lot of people think of Halo cars as the sports cars, or they're always the racy ones, are always the Halo cars. But I think you bring up a good point, Andrew, that it very well could be that your Halo car, because it has all the new technology, all the new styling, all the new whatever, especially in this day and age, might not be your sports car, your hot hatch, your whatever. It could be something like the CRV.
Right. Plus, look at Land Rover. No one's ever going to look at a Land Rover and say, oh, that's not like their best.
I like their car better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, what are we talking about here?
I dig that. I never really thought about it being any brand really having a Halo as a crossover or SUV, especially if they do make cars.
Right.
So let me pitch you something different for Honda. Like, this is what I was thinking. Well, we play off of the Type R engine, but what if they make like their own version, almost like a miniature version of a mid-engine sports car?
I knew you were going to say that.
Using that Civic Type R engine. So it's going to be lighter, it's going to be maybe 360 to 400 horsepower, whatever it is, little DCT in there. So it's like a watered down, more affordable version of an NSX, seeing as, you've got Honda as your everyman and Acura as your luxury. Anyway, what if they make their own little mini version of the NSX? Mid-engine sports car.
I think that would be awesome, but I think the problem with that is that really a car like that should probably be called the Integra, and that's an Acura name.
That's an Acura at that point, yeah. I don't have a problem with that. Like, yeah, I guess. Other than
bring back the Del Sol.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That would be awesome.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Tristan.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
I lost my train of thought now.
The Del Sol destroyed it.
Yeah, but basically, I think it's something that, as much as I really hate it when people say this to other people or me, to a certain extent, there's a little feeling of like, okay, but just stay in your lane. Like when Volkswagen came out with the Phaeton, and currently what they're doing with the Arteon, like Audi's like, hey, get back where you belong. And unless you make it an Integra and an Acura, is anybody from the Honda side going to buy it? Are they going to buy like, oh, this is a weird, pretentious sports car, I want my front Civic based thing as my Halo car or whatever. And so it just doesn't seem to fit for me. Although I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it as an Acura, something between, something below the NSX even, because I just think it would be fun. I don't, I love the idea. I just don't know where it fits with Honda. That's the weird thing is, have they ever done anything like that before? Have they, I just don't know. And it seems when you said mid-engine sports car, my brain went, but it's a Honda. And that was like my gut response is, but it's a Honda. And I don't know how many other people are going to feel that way. It just seems like it doesn't fit, and I don't know why. I don't want to feel that way. Explain to me why it doesn't fit. I don't know. But it's just a strange thing.
All right, well, maybe let's circle back. Let's go to another brand and see if sussing out some more can kind of get us refocused here. The GM tree, actually Chevy, I think we can say safely, has a Halo car.
Yep.
Does Cadillac have a Halo car or not? What is the current status of the Blackwing today? Are they making it or are they question.
Not? That was what I was going to say. Is that a thing?
2022 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, most powerful Cadillac ever. Supercharged future vehicles. So maybe they seem to kind of have one right now.
Limited availability, arriving late summer 2021. So they're at least building the thing.
Can I just point something out here?
CT5 Blackwing.
They have the 4. Okay, so I mean,
and the 4.
But here's what I don't like to see in a bump about a performance car. I don't want the third thing you advertise to me be the high performance steering wheel.
That's a good point.
Well, I guess was it third? It's rotating for me because the first thing I saw, the third thing in mine was carbon ceramic brakes, and it's like, yeah. Like when you said I would say what's the third thing I don't want to see, and I was like, I don't know, I want to see that this has carbon ceramic brakes, but in your highlight list, it's like rigid chassis, space frame, magnetic ride control, cool 6-speed manual, supercharged V8, carbon ceramic brakes, and a steering wheel.
It's got that too.
It's like they couldn't quite get to 6 interesting things about it, which
also,
is worrying.
Six gears is not enough.
Does it have to be like a performance car? The future cars they've got. What about that Escala?
That is just a concept car.
Right. But I don't know where that would be priced if it ever hit the market, but based on this, I feel like, at least based on what they're telling us on the website, that could be a pretty neat Halo.
That's true. Is this an electric car? Was the Escala one of their electric cars?
The Lyric is their electric SUV.
Lyric, right, of course.
Lyric with a Q.
Lyric.
Man, so this is tricky, right? I mean, there are concept vehicles actually kind of like the Escala that are hyper modified, like on the border, on the very, very distant edge of production ready. Essentially this is a Blackwing crammed to the gills with every screen they could find and stupid Tesla door handles. So is this like Halo-y? Is it still just, I feel like we should leave it out simply because the intent was concept.
Right. So are we missing something obvious with Cadillac? Like, given how ingrained in pop culture it is, and it is the highest end SUV, is the Escalade Cadillac's Halo?
No. Because I don't think it's...
Is it? It might be, Tristan.
Well, let's finish what you're saying, Tristan. Then,
go ahead.
I have a counterpoint.
No, but I don't think it is because it's not ever in at least in what I know of it, it's never been like the pinnacle of their technology. It's you might make an argument for, it's been on the leading edge of their design, but it's almost never been first. Like they take a Tahoe and apply whatever the CTS line is wearing and put it on a Tahoe and put some chrome on it and call it an Escalade. Like, to me, the Escalade has always just been a cash cow. It hasn't been at the front of almost anything. And people might want to buy it, but I don't know that it's like aspirational in any way. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it might be their top seller or what have you, but that doesn't make it a Halo car. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Sure. I mean, well, all right. So a couple things here. I think that, well, first, it's their most expensive car, which doesn't prove anything offhand. But what I will say, and I didn't know this until just now, it apparently does have like a massive full a 38-inch screen for the front. And it also has this is so stupid, as a 36 speaker sound system.
Woo!
And a bunch of other shit. Like, maybe, all right, while it's not like the technology leader for possibly even Cadillac, they put a lot in this. And I just never knew.
I mean, I guess
this is a Halo car.
I think, Tristan, you are right as far as it's not on the leading edge. I think my counterpoint to that is something you said earlier in this episode when we brought up this topic. If I'm going to buy an insert brand here, I'm going to buy an insert model here. I think if people are thinking, I'm going to buy a Cadillac, I'm going to get an Escalade.
But then they do. Like, it's not aspirational. It's not like someday I'm going to get my whatever. They just do it.
I think for a lot of people it is. It's like it starts at $75,000.
The Escalade tops out at over $100,000.
Yeah.
$100,000. And
okay,
again,
so it's expensive.
The price is never, and because $100,000 with a 38-inch touchscreen panel that goes across the entire front of the car, 1 million very tiny speakers.
1 million speakers.
Leather, and it's got like there's the what is it, the ESV model that's like the limousine model, for lack of a better term. All that, it does have an absurd amount of shit that it can do and that you can put on it. And in terms of tech and performance, you can get a performance exhaust, performance air intake. It definitely has, to my eyes, it passes the smell test on the performance angle, quote unquote. Obviously it's never going to be like a drag racer. And the tech stuff, it's there. You can get it.
Okay,
I guess maybe my issue is more with Cadillac then, because what is that pushing forward? Like it's supposed to be like the place where you debut all of your everything.
That's true.
And they're not. They're putting it in the Blackwing. They're putting it in all these concept cars. It's like, it's not pushing anything forward. But maybe that's just because Cadillac is doing it the wrong way.
So let me spin the question a little bit
because they're Cadillac.
Oh, maybe.
Sorry, what was that, Nick?
Sorry, Tristan. There was a delay on my end. If I jumped in on you there was a delay on my end. So it's split here whether it is the Halo or not. I think I know where Tristan stands on this. Andrew, if we agree that it is Cadillac's Halo, the next question would be, should it be? Or should there be something else that comes out from Cadillac that people can look up to?
Well, I will answer that like this. Allegedly.
Let me answer that by asking you this.
No, I'm not. I'm going to point this out. Allegedly, by like the end of the year or the beginning of next year, GMC will bring out a fully electric Hummer vehicle, which is clearly their Halo car. And we've just gone through a 2 or 3 year period where every single good thing that Cadillac ever developed or planned to put in their car got directly stolen by the rest of the GM brands. So if you take what we know about Cadillac's actual recent history, where they've just been pillaged like Saturn was in days of yore, and put that up against the fact that they're kind of the stepchild of GM right now, where they just don't get anything their own. Essentially, it leaves us with two choices. It has to be something like the Escalade that is the actual face of their brand and their most expensive car and does get a ton of stuff, but never gets talked about. Or the Blackwing, which is essentially kind of for consumer whores. They're just pimping it out and no one's going to buy it.
I think it needs to be something else. We've already we've already fixed Cadillac once before. We need to do it again.
So what do you think Cadillac needs?
I think Cadillac needs something that will actually make the phrase, "Oh, it's the Cadillac of fill in the blank," make sense again. And we need to bring this back up. Cadillac needs to go back to being a luxury brand.
Well, they need like a boat.
Basically, like for example, have you seen their El Mirage concept?
No,
it is.
I think you know I haven't.
it's based on their it's actually based on the Eldorado silhouette and then modified. It is a very large 2-door sedan with a ton of power and a ton of luxury, and I actually think it looks pretty good. And it's like that's what you buy a Cadillac for. We also kind of discussed it in like the land yachts episode, where it's like Cadillac's entry into the whole land yacht thing is the Escalade. The Escalade just shouldn't be Cadillac's entrance into everything. It's like it's their land yacht, it's their halo car, it's their number one seller. Like Cadillac is the Escalade. They need to put something above it.
So I'm on the El Mirage, right? Is what the name was.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm looking. I found the page. I'm scrolling. This car has a clitoris.
Excuse me?
Oh my god. The gear shifter looks like a clitoris. They just have like a little flesh colored nub, like right in them. And there's a lips. Yeah, this car is a Halo car. That's for sure. You can edit that out if you want.
So, I think I remember you. I think I remember you talking about this before, Tristan. Where, like, you think Cadillac needs to go like Bentley or Rolls Royce big, and if you're going to be a luxury brand,
like they keep saying it
and be a luxury brand.
What they need to do is drop the word American from their advertising. Aggressive, but yeah, I'm going to say that because they always say it's the new definition of American luxury. So it's not anything important then? Like, stop qualifying yourselves by saying American luxury. It used to be luxury was American cars. You'd get people overseas, maybe not in countries that had their own luxury brands. Like I don't think you'd get a British aristocrat to buy a Cadillac, but we were exporting them to other countries that didn't have their own luxury brands as you're going to buy this Cadillac because it's an excellent luxury car, period, done. And now they keep qualifying themselves as this is the new definition of American luxury. Just be the definition of luxury and make that your Halo car. Make that the push for your Halo car, like new technology for everything focused on luxury.
I say yes.
Go that way.
I say yes to the click car. I agree with him.
But something like some big luxurious car, I think, and I don't want to be just old fashioned. Like I get how important, especially after you described it, how important the Escalade is. But it's a Cadillac. It's a big, Eldorados, Coupe de Villes, like make a big luxury car. Like someday, like I bought my Escalade, but someday I'm gonna get whatever's next. Like push it just that much further.
Well, actually, I actually agree with Tristan because there's one element of this El Mirage that he left out. The fact that if you talk to people about Cadillacs or, people who have been into cars for a while, at some point when you're talking about Cadillacs, someone's going to bring up the Cadillac 16, which was that
Yes.
V16 car that they brought out. By the way, that was in 2003. That was 80 years ago.
It was.
And people still talk about it.
80 years ago.
Mhm.
It's just... So Tristan, I think, has the right of this. Everything he said, I think, is exactly right. And that they need that car to be their Halo car.
I would agree with that too. I think that's a better... I still think now the Escalade is, but it should not be. And I think...
Is it currently? Yes.
Probably.
But I think they can... And
they can do better.
A gutsy quote from me, from me to Cadillac is I actually don't know if they can, but they can do better.
Yeah,
they can't.
I think that's a really good point, Tristan.
Yeah. All right. GMC has the Hummer. Fine. Whatever. I am of the opinion we should just skip you because it's going to be dead soon anyway.
Agreed. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Great.
Not important.
Here's a tricky one. Actually, a tricky triad. And I think that what we're going to run up to here is a completely new way of visualizing what a Halo car is. And of course, we're talking Dodge, Jeep, Ram. And I guess the Chrysler trailer, if we have to talk about them. Obviously, they got the Hellcat thing going. They're doing just fine with it. And and to my mind, there would be no reason for them, other than the logical reasons, to move away from just putting 700 horsepower in whatever car for each of those brands and just going about their day, right? That's what they do. That's their Halo car for each of those.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see...
Except maybe Jeep.
Well,
they put them in there. They put them in there. But like those are like very limited appeal, like Trackhawks and stuff like that. Like it's for a specific set of people rather than anybody who would buy a Jeep. I don't know.
Well, okay,
I feel
but the Wrangler Hellcat, they're humping that hard, and people are getting excited about it, which is a little gross to me. But I mean, coming soon to a parking lot near you, I think.
See, I agree to an extent, Andrew, with they've kind of cornered their market with this, right? Just drop the most amount of horsepower under the hood as you can and send it out the door. What I think kind of goes against that is the fact that like every 6 months you hear a press release about a new version. It's like you've got the Demon, and then you've got the Demon this, and then you've got the Demon that, and there's the Hellcat and the Hellcat this, and then and it just keeps going, and they keep stacking on top of it. Like Halo cars are, they go through a normal cycle where it's like every 3 or 4 years. Like I think of what, Corvette does, like every 3, 4, 6 years or whatever, there's a new C version of it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not like they don't just keep stacking more and more and more. Like this one's got 157 horsepower. This one's got 802. And then this one's got 809. And then this one's got, and it's just like, just give us one, let it run its cycle, and then give us the next 10 horsepower upgrade when you facelift the car and do everything else. Like we don't need.
They don't facelift their cars anymore either.
They just facelift the engines.
A good point.
Yeah, they don't really. They kind of.
I'm just saying, like
that.
Whatever is a Halo car, or even the top. Going back to like Honda and the Civic Type R, like the top car for each specific brand, like they don't come out with these different packages like constantly for these cars. Like that's not what a Halo car is designed to be.
Well, I guess, but that's why I kind of started that with what I think is, in fact, just a whole different approach to the concept, which is they don't do that. You're exactly right. The only thing that they're doing is creating massive piles of gold doubloons by making the Hellcat their Halo. Simply that engine, that number 707, making that their pinnacle, their highest achievement, their best in brand. And by doing that and then flipping around and cramming it into everything in their lineup, they're just stacking money because they have 90% of that car made, 10% changes, well, 5% changes, 5% luxury upcharge, and you're selling the same car for over $100,000 when it started at 35. Like it's a genius model, and I'm wondering if it's just a different approach entirely to the idea of a Halo.
I would make the same argument we made for Cadillac.
I think you make a good point.
It is, but it also shouldn't be.
But what else can they do? I mean, I feel like a lot of what we would do with other brands just doesn't work for Stellantis, Starship Atlantis. But I feel like it doesn't work because what we have here are ostensibly two off-road brands and an SUV company in Dodge that I guess also makes the very old Challenger and Charger still. Like what? So I guess my problem is this: what are any of these brands stripped of the Hellcat at this point? Jeep has its own thing that we would assume
Jeep has its own thing.
Jeep will be fine.
Ram still has its own thing.
Ram will be fine.
It's not as strongly defined as Jeep, but they make overall pretty good trucks that are more comfortable than the other two.
Yes.
Like, that's kind of their big thing is like, if you want something that's capable, but you also drive it every day, and hey, maybe you want a diesel that we might have cheated on, but hey, here you go. It's, and yeah, you can put everything from, their, V6 diesel to their big diesels to the regular, American pickup truck V8 in the middle. And, they kind of have their own thing, and they have their own Halo cars for, in my opinion, the kind of two portions of their segment, because they split down even further.
Yeah.
Ram does. You've got like the Rebel / Power Wagon crowd, or it's like the off-roading people, depending on what they're offering on what year. And then you've got their, heavy duty truck people, where you've got their 3500s, where it's like it's a Halo car because it has a lazy boy in the front seat, a giant touchscreen, and can tow my 13 horses. Yeah,
you're exactly right.
And then it kind of splits that way. I think a lot of truck companies do. And if you take the Hellcat out of it, so you get rid of things like the TRX, there are still models that without that engine make sense and are popular without that engine. And I think that's true for Jeep as well.
Right. They have such a devoted following. I mean, just say, Wrangler. It's just Wrangler. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrangler and Grand Cherokee people are pretty rabid in their own. They've changed a little bit. It's more of the, I want the, comfortable SUV that'll take me through 18 inches of snow. Those kind of people.
Right. True. But I think if you're picking just one, a special edition Wrangler, like a Willys edition Wrangler, right? Like that's like your Jeep of all Jeeps.
Yep. Jeep of all Jeeps. And, that can exist on its own outside the Hellcat.
I'm almost inclined to say that Stellantis group doesn't have a Halo car; they just have a Halo engine.
Yeah, I mean that's the American
Dodge
side, right?
Doesn't.
Well, yeah.
Just because, I'm thinking, Stellantis is also technically part of PSA. And
right. Sorry. So the Chrysler, what we would know as like the Chrysler group. Right. They don't have a Halo car. They have a Halo engine. And now I'm starting to kind of circle back and think, does anyone else do that? And
I don't think
when you mentioned off the top, Andrew, about like rethinking the way Halo cars are done, like, is that a potential? Like, should other brands do that?
Well,
I mean, a Cadillac's going to try out the Blackwing, right? I mean, they're going to put that
they
in
might
models.
But I can tell you right now, Hyundai's doing it.
Oh, right. Shit. Duh.
They just don't have a fancy name for the engine.
Right. It's the N-line.
That 2.5 liter already is, don't look now, but it's already in everything. And so is that 8-speed wet clutch DCT, by the way. That's just going in everything. And
and that was
it's not a sexy engine, though. Like it's not. Yeah.
And very similar. I mean, I think these things come and go. I think why we're stuck on Stellantis in particular is it hasn't gone yet. But like a lot of car companies stake a lot of their reputation, their popularity on a specific engine model. The 1.8 and later bored out to 2-liter Volkswagen motor, the 4.2 liter V8 that they put out that was in everything from my dad's A6 to the A8 A8L.
6.2 liter GM V8.
Yep, some of the initial Quattro, Q SUVs, the race car. Like they built an entire reputation on those two motors from like the 90s until 2010.
I guess so. I think the difference is no one's ever branded the engine. No one's ever created a Halo trim or Halo brand by virtue of making an icon for the engine. You know what I mean? And the Hellcat face now is that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting.
I would need someone who's better at older cars than I am, because I have this tickling at the back of my head that this has been done before. Like because of things like the Beach Boy song 409 being about an engine, not a car. Like, I feel like this has happened before, but my knowledge is just not deep enough.
Well, I think it happened before with Dodge, right? Because they were the first with the Hemi back in the day.
Oh shit. He's right.
And more recently,
that thing got a Hemi?
Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah. Oh God, I do.
But that was not new at the time either.
Even still,
the Hemi wasn't new at that point. At that point, everybody had a Hemi, but Dodge was the first to bring out that technology 40, 50 years ago, whatever it was.
That's true. And plus Dodge, or I guess Chrysler at the time, creating Mopar as a standalone branding opportunity. So, okay. All right. So they have some experience in this. But it does feel different with Hellcat simply because it's a lot like some new pepper, right? Like the Scorpion pepper or whatever the hottest thing in the world is at this very moment. They're just kind of taking that and putting it on this square of tofu and that plain cheesecake and just all this other stuff and creating spicy versions of stuff that no one really wants all that much. And then using that as like, it just feels like
spicy
it's the whole
cheesecake.
Yeah. Which would be delicious.
Actually,
it just feels
say none of that.
Yeah, exactly. it just feels like it's the only thing to me. And maybe that's because I care so little about the brand, or maybe it's just the way they're so aggressive with it. Everything they put out on all their brand accounts is always Hellcat. Always.
Mm-hmm.
So
Carolina Reaper edition Charger.
Exactly that. Exactly.
Make it spicy.
Carolina Reaper cheesecake.
I do think there is a space for these brands to have individual Halo cars. I just don't think it's worth talking about that much because we know what they're going to do. The next step, the final step, is to put the Demon engine in everything. Or is that the super triple awesome powerful one in the Challenger from Dodge, right? The drag race one,
like the drag one, Demon.
Yeah, that's the next step, and after that, there's nothing because you're not putting 800 horsepower in consumer cars.
Nope. At least not in that fashion where it's like 800 horsepower rear wheel drive.
Right.
like the power, you can put more in if you change up how it's delivered, but Dodge isn't going to
Exactly.
do that.
No. All right. So some trickier brands now. One that might be fast or might be slow. Does Nissan have a Halo car?
They claim they do, and I would argue it is Godzilla, the GTR.
But it's very old and has not. I don't see it in the same light anymore.
So okay, here's the thing. It's very old, and it's actually on its way out. I think they just released like their last edition or whatever. But when it came out, to Tristan's point about what a Halo should be, it was the leading edge of everything that Nissan was trying to do. And we know now that Nissan only updates things once every 15 years.
That's
so, I mean,
where
this
I was
is
going to go
on
with
par
this. Is that they
with what Nissan does. So, yes, it's old, Andrew, but it still is their Halo car because pretty much everything from Nissan is old.
That's what I was going to say, is that they keep adding a little bit of technology to the GTR every year, and that still means it's their cutting edge. Now, again, like I have a lot of other brands, should it be? No, not in comparison to anything else.
Guys, this car came out in 2007.
In comparison to Nissan.
Yeah, it's 14 years old.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Maybe I should have talked about this one on the Guilty Pleasures episode last week. I really like the GTR.
I know. And I totally agree with you 7 years ago. So, okay. All right. Here's my issue with having this as their Halo car. It just does not have the same impact after this long. And it's not an issue of facelifting it, which they haven't done, by the way. And it's not an issue of incrementally adding technology, which they've barely done, by the way. It's the fact that a 2021 GTR is sitting on lots at an impressive price point still, though not as impressive as it used to be. 113,000, right? Gets you 600 horsepower. Great. A 6-speed gearbox. No thanks. An average of 20 mpg. We're all good on that. Thanks. And it's kind of sad.
It just hasn't kept up with like the advancements of the industry as a whole.
Exactly. That's my core issue.
Like you can easily put an 8-speed DCT in that. You would think.
Well, like,
sorry
for
if
example,
I keep talking over you, Andrew or Tristan. I'm getting lag.
No, you're fine.
It's fine. But for example, like when you look at that compared to, let's throw something out there, C8.
Yeah, just something out there real quick.
Like, okay, you don't get 600 horsepower, but you get 500 horsepower in a significantly lighter car, and it's $60,000.
Yeah,
you could buy two of them, have 1,000 horsepower, and
my go-to is always buy one and lose it. But yeah.
You could buy one, keep it, buy a second one, and have 1,000 horsepower.
That's
right.
It's
like, it's, and I know the Corvettes always come in at a low price point, but even other brands like that 600 horsepower number isn't as impressive anymore.
But I'll tell you what, if there's any number of things that I think probably will be done with the follow-up to this car, right? Like, I don't think that Nissan's dead in the water exactly, but let's say, even if they'd incrementally upgraded this one in the performance aspect, if this was still 113,000, but had hybrid tech, which we know Nissan loves, or if it had better transmissions and newly tuned, if they just like brought the whole thing out with an entire spectrum of tech that's not like surface, but is focused towards the car, right? And I know that the way this car achieved its miracle track times was by virtue of being light and just powerful enough to propel itself around every corner at the maximum possible attack.
And all-wheel drive.
Right, and all-wheel drive.
And all-wheel drive.
But the time of that formula has passed, and we need to see something else that's just as impressive in a different way, because this isn't going to work, and it doesn't, at least not for me.
I was going to say, man, like, isn't it interesting how the very thing that Nissan hung their hats on with that car about how, it's all underneath, like it looks subtle, it looks unassuming, but all the stuff at work underneath with the drivetrain and everything else, like, that's what was so impressive about that car when it first came out. And it's like, that's what we're criticizing now. It's like, where is that
now?
All right, so here's where we're at with the GTR. In current year, from 2 hours ago, Car Scoops. Nissan didn't paint the 2022 GTR Nismo Edition's hood to save 100 grams. Thanks for playing. That's it. That's it.
So
on
that's
that.
it went 0 to 60 in 3.2 to 0 to 60 in 3.18.
3.2 still.
3.189.
Round up 3.2 still.
That's like, all right, okay. We're fine. We're fine on all that. They need something else. And honestly, it's not like they don't have a legacy of building really, really awesome fast cars. I do believe that they'll do it. I just wish they'd done it sooner.
Yeah.
All right. Subaru.
Ooh.
We know what it is.
We know what they tried to make it.
The STI.
The STI Mark B Stroke America 3.641, whatever the hell that crap was that they were doing.
S209.
Yeah, any of that.
S209.
So
it's a it's a one-off, or not one-off, but a limited run, like, special edition versus like your production. We're talking about things that were Halo cars, Type R's, NSX's, which, although they don't make many, they are a production run car, not like special editions.
Yeah.
And so I think the STI is firmly in Halo car territory. Again, it's aging. They just recently brought an engine that isn't as old as I am, and put it in the actual STI version. And there's rumors of all the new stuff that's coming with the new one. Is it going to be hybrid? Is it going to be this, going to be that? And then I think, well, I'll wait and see on that one. But I think a lot like we complained with Nissan, they took their Halo car and it was a lot of new tech, a lot of cool stuff, and 10 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree. And something new is coming. We know that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm gonna withhold any make my own Halo car comments until I see what they've done with it, because I think particularly this round of the STI has been oddly slow to update itself. They usually iterate much faster, and so I think this is a weird hiccup, and I'll wait and see what's next before I make my own assertions.
Yep, I totally agree. Oh, sorry. I just went to open a webpage for the next brand that we're going to regretfully talk about, because it's actually important that we do it. It's BMW, and the picture they have on the front of the iX, that thing is pig dog ugly. Holy shit.
Yeah, you pig dogs.
Oh my God. I just want to say, I've now seen some of these new BMWs on the street. It is so much worse. Oh my
better.
God. This must end. This must be stopped. Anyways, does BMW have a Halo car?
No, I wouldn't think so. I would like them. It's never going to happen. I would like to see them. Yeah, I don't really think they've had like a Halo car since the M1, and I would love to see them bring. That was close.
Yeah,
that was close.
That was a technology pusher, and
yeah. If they could do like maybe some sort of amalgamation of both of those two, and make like an M1 style or inspired body with some sort of crazy hybrid tech, like I would love to see something like an M1 come back. If we can base it off of that and then try to throw more modern into it.
I think BMW faces somehow the same problem that Dodge does, where within BMW there's too many silos already. So it's like you could consider at one time or another the BMW Halo car has been the M1, the i8, the M3, the M5, like depending on what you're looking for, like even the M1 all the way to 1M where you flip it around, like the the BMW equivalent of like a hot hatch to the BMW equivalent of like a hot touring car in the M3 to their ridiculous luxury performance car in the M5 and up. Like there's there isn't one BMW Halo car. The problem is BMW is trying to make an entire brand of Halo cars.
I feel like I think that's a good point, but I also think that BMW's biggest issue as a brand is that they have a really strong tendency to act like a sleeping teenager. So I was just looking at the i8, right? Because in my mind, that was a true Halo car. But what I have to remind myself is that, so that car was produced from 2014 to 2020, 6 years, pretty long. But that car was introduced in 2009. The Efficient Dynamics concept came out in 2009, and I know because I was at that motor show. But they didn't change it meaningfully by the time from 2009 to 14. It was around for 5 years before it ever, and people kept poking them. This looks really good. You should make this. This looks really good. In 11, they slightly changed it. The i8 concept in 11, 3 years. You should make this. i8 Spider, 12, 13. They tried it 5 times. And then by the time it was out, everyone was sick of it because it was still the same tech from 2009. And it's like they have this malaise about doing cool stuff that isn't in an M3 or an M5. It's for a company that really seems to hate those cars at this moment. They are not trying at all.
I guess.
They actually, guys,
we can't really slam them for time from concept to production and having people. Hey, you just complimented Hyundai on that. The Santa Cruz concept is a 6-year-old concept.
That's true.
So the fact that they created a concept, they heard people liked it, and they took the time to get it right. We just complimented Hyundai for doing the same thing that BMW did.
Yep.
So at least as far as the i8 goes, where it was 5 years, a year less, and they came out with a really truly good Halo car, I can't complain about that.
With an iterated concept every year is the main difference.
So you don't think Hyundai iterated their concept, at least internally?
Well, I was going to say, I can tell you they didn't, because it didn't pop up at every show every year like the friggin' i8 did.
They probably did. They just didn't reserve booth space for it.
So the marketing was different. I don't think that makes a big difference in the car itself.
So, by the by, BMW did come out with a M1 homage concept in 2008. I just dropped it in the Discord chat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the wheels.
I don't like the wheel. I don't like the wheels, but the rest of it is not awful.
I'm just going to point out that this looks like an i8, but it's fine.
Again, not awful.
That back is pure i8.
Well, yeah.
All right, so they iterated it 6 times. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, all right, so in my mind, even if BMW were to make an attempt at bringing a Halo car, if we're not going to count the M5 and M3 as Halo cars, which maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I just don't know if they're capable of producing something that actually wows people. I think there's a perception about BMW that is not true to their brand. I think there are many, but one specifically dealing with cars. Everyone wants to talk about the BMW M1. That's the M1, right? Was the
old one?
Yeah,
the old one. Yeah.
They did that one time, and they've never come anywhere close to it again. I don't think BMW is this brand. I think BMW is the middle management brand. I don't think they're cut out for this. And I think expecting them to come out with a Halo car that could even match what the M1 was is foolishness. I don't think they're
Well, I didn't say
capable.
I didn't say I expected it. I just said I wish they would do
No,
something like
I'm
that.
not saying you specifically, Nick, but people have that expectation. They're like, "Ooh, every time they bring out something, this M2, that number's pretty close to M1. It's pretty close. The M5,
It's going to be another one of those.
Yeah, the M5. Oh, it's going to be another M1. This M5
it's
is
like
the
an
M1,
but 5 times better.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
no, it's not. We need to stop. We need to throw the rose tinted glasses of that car away because that's not who BMW is, and it never was.
throw them out the window to have them caught by the enormous grill on the BMW behind you.
Exactly. Maybe I just hate BMW.
Oh my God.
What?
They are yeah, you don't park your BMWs nowadays and peel like bugs off of them. You literally peel SUVs off of your BMW grills.
They've just
like
been
just
ingested.
Scraper and got another one.
The first time someone hits a bird with one of those is going to be just immense
digestion.
It's going to be brutal. So,
yeah, I mean, I just don't think I have a hard time.
I don't think they're going to
imagining
do it. I just wish they would.
I just have a hard time imagining what a BMW Halo car would be, simply because I don't think that they can do it. I think it would just be a really nice version of a coupe. It'd be pretty good. It'd be pretty quick.
Isn't that what they do now?
Exactly. All right. You got something else?
No, I was just gonna. What brand are you bringing up next? Because before we take off, there's one I do want to talk about. So I just want to see what you're gonna say.
What you got? What you got?
Make sure we get it.
I think an interesting one, and they're getting a little bit more press, at least from us, the past couple of weeks, is Mazda. Everyone thinks Miata or MX-5, but that's not really a Halo car.
Nah, it can't be.
Is Mazda in a place to get a... I put the MX-5 kind of with the Civic Type R. They're not even the same price point, really, I don't think. But it's like, if I'm getting a Mazda, I'm going to get a fun Mazda. And that I just kind of have that thought process. But like, is Mazda one of those brands that needs one? Because they don't have the luxury brand like a Toyota and a Nissan and a what's the one I'm missing? Honda do, where they can just, that version of it, it's just Mazda.
All right. Here is the first question I'll ask in relation to what you said. Has Mazda ever had a Halo car?
Not that I know of. I don't think so.
I mean, depends on the definition.
do not bring up the race car. Do not do that.
No. I'm talking about the we talk about like the pushing technical boundaries and everything else versus just the like, I want to own that, but I'm gonna because the whole what we haven't talked about is like the purpose of a Halo car. We talk about what it is, but the purpose of a Halo car is to like draw attention to your brand, and then people who can't afford the Halo car buy something else. And something that fair. I actually saw happen at least twice was people who want. This is going to be a hilarious. My family will get this in joke. We were at a basketball game, and it was a Bucks Bulls game, and this guy named Dickie Simpkins subbed in for Michael Jordan. And it's like, Dickie Simpkins replacing Michael Jordan in his dreams, right? Never. He's never. Not replacing Michael Jordan. And what happened, that I saw twice happen around the time we were in high school, Andrew, is people seeing a Mazda RX-8.
It actually was his name, Dickie Simpkins.
And then,
I'm looking it up.
And then they bought an RX. They were looking at an RX-8. They were going to college or whatever, couldn't afford one, and then bought a Protege. Like right. in your dreams, but that RX-8 drew them to the brand and they bought something else. So I would argue that at least for a while, the RX-8 was a functional Halo car for Mazda.
I would buy that actually if it weren't for the fetish that it made people develop for rotary engines.
And that's why I was like, is it really pushing anything technical or is it just pushing a lie? I don't know.
However,
from that side of things, but it did function as one.
You are correct about that. And also, I mean, I guess me saying that it's created the fetish is answering the question, right? This car is something that people have been chasing since they stopped making this car.
Yeah.
Clearly
they've been waiting for the RX-9.
Yeah, clearly it's something. Clearly it's important.
Since then. Yeah.
Didn't Mazda just announce they're doing, which they've been doing forever?
They've announced another rotary car that they're not going to make.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I think so.
I actually do believe that you are correct. It was something that linked their rotary engines and hybrid tech.
Yes.
And I mean, remember that because I remember there was a tweet about
Mazda
the irony.
MX-30 EV.
That's the one.
Yeah, the 2022 Mazda MX-30 EV launches here in the fall. Rotary coming for 2023. But it's an SUV.
So if we're sticking by our own guidance to attempt to make the Halo car fit the brand as it stands, it has to be some rotary thing.
And I, as early as like not, just a little under a year ago, there was talk about that they still have a sports car in development. It's rotary, expected to be called the RX-9 based on the RX Vision concept. Aiming to go head to head with things like the Cayman and the Supra. And if they did that, that would be their Halo car. Now, again, are they ever going to do it? But the fact that even just a year ago, they're like, no, it's still in development, and not like, oh yeah, we were thinking about that, but then we stopped, and you continue to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that it very specifically itself won't go away. Like, talks of a next rotary Mazda just generally never go away. We know that, but very specifically, this RX-9 based on the RX Vision concept has been, keeps hanging around as late as like last September.
Well, I'm looking at an article here about the RX-9 from 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. So,
which is when they trademarked RX-9.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was shortly after the RX Vision concept. Correct. In 2015. Mm-hmm. So, but this car very specifically, as late as October 2020, is still getting like updated, engineering and development leaks, quote unquote, and like, okay, we're not going to use a rotary, we're going to use an inline 6 and hybrid and stuff like that. So,
all this is making me do is wish that the frickin' Mazda designers would find a second color. I'm sick of this red. You still in on the red?
I like this Soul Red. I really do. I don't have a problem with it. And it's also their color. Like, no one else is doing it. So stick to what works.
No one else has red?
Not this color red.
No. I mean, it looks just, kind of bland to me now. Maybe it's just I've seen it so much. I guess if Mazda were to have a Halo car, it'd be this thing, the rotary powered, blah, blah, blah. I just don't believe in rotary engines. That's my biggest problem with all of this. This time, Wankel rotary engines to me they're the Bitcoin of cars. This time Bitcoin is real. This time we're switching off the dollar. This time. Yeah, I know.
Well, here's the thing, like, if they are to do this, what new technology would they put in it? Like, is there much, I have very little knowledge of like what you can actually do to a rotary engine besides what they already did. Like,
you can replace them when they die at 100,000 miles.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, is it really then going to be I guess for the desirability or the meme factor, it could be like, but it's not going to be like any new technology with it unless they link it.
I would assume it's
well, they're trying to
possible
link it to hybrid or EV. With
I would assume it's possible to link it to hybrid.
So,
you know, I would assume that you could put battery tech on it and make it more efficient and stuff like that. But I have no idea. Either way, that's what they have to do. They don't have a choice now. They're really locked in.
That's their only option. And if they are bringing it out with this MX-30, well, then they miss their opportunity. Like if they're going to link the rotary and the hybrid together, instead of doing it in a CUV, let's make it the RX-9 and build some real hype around it.
Well, what you're forgetting is that Mazda is allergic, even more than a BMW or a lot of other brands, even more than any of those, to making cars that people would like them to. There's been no Mazda Speed Miata. There's been no Mazda Speed anything. Mazda Speed is dead in the water. The RX-7 maybe had a successor with the RX-8, but really people who love that car are still looking for something like that to come back. And they're also still hoping on the RX-9. Mm-hmm. There's just... If Mazda has kept a fan through a successive generation of car, it would be the first time, I think.
I mean, it seems like there's a lot of repeat Miata / MX-5 buyers. I mean, I think they got that one right.
But that's only because they actually have A, made them in successive generations, and B, haven't fucked with it.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, Mazda, just make a cool rotary car and get it over with already.
Or don't. Shit or get off the pot.
Right. Just give us it or stop telling you're going to give us it.
Stop with the memes. All right, let's get a little spicier here. Let's kick it up a notch. And let's ask ourselves if Ferrari has a Halo car.
I mean, I feel like pretty much all of them could be considered Halo cars. So
right,
I guess,
but we're just looking to get a different dynamic here.
LaFerrari.
Is that still in production?
Well, I don't know if it's still in production, but I mean, if we got to pick a Halo car, that's probably the one.
Definitely. All right, so here their current
production
lineup,
2013 to 2016.
Oh, we missed that by a mile. So right now they make the 812. That's probably the F90, right?
Yeah, that would probably be the one now.
So the F90, the F8, the Roma, the Portofino, the Monza. Yeah, it's the F90.
It's definitely the F90.
All right, that was quick.
Yep, that was one.
Quick.
And it was quick, and it was not spicy.
It was not that spicy. It's not all that spicy.
It's a Ferrari,
but
the
it's,
one with F in the name.
You just gotta test the waters on some of this stuff.
No, this one is the SF90, Tristan, not the F90. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
But is F in the name?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Let's talk about Volkswagen.
Okay.
Because they're kind of an odd duck. As Tristan pointed out, they've put their nose in a couple of the Volkswagen Group's pools, and I think that made them a little angry. But they've also done weird stuff like that. Oh God, what was the name of that concept that had like the GTI that had the V12 in the back?
Oh yeah, it's like it wasn't the Club Sport, was it?
No, it was like the W12 or something like that, because it was that Bentley engine.
Yeah, the GTI W12.
Yeah, so
2007.
So what is VW's deal? I don't think they have. Well, so they have the Golf R, and that is, I guess, probably their leading model in the Halo car race, but they also have the Arteon, which is like weirdly luxurious in some ways. Tristan, what do you think?
Yeah, it was kind of what I was talking about with the Phaeton, where it's like almost ranging up into Audi territory in a lot of ways, and like it's almost so much a Halo car that kind of like what I was talking about with yours, Nick, with the mid-engine Honda. It's like, what are you doing? Why is that a Volkswagen? Like I wouldn't go looking for that, and the Arteon doesn't then make me buy a Jetta.
Right.
Like it's a great car. I think I love it. It's cool. And I'm glad that it exists, but it's weird even to me that it's a Volkswagen. I don't know that it fits the Halo car, at least half of the Halo car definition, where it drives interest directly in your brand. It almost kind of in a backhanded secondary way drives interest in Audi because it's so often compared to them. It's like, oh, it's got the digital cockpit like the Audis do. It's got this like the Audis do. It's like it's driving comparisons to Audi, not what it has then taken and like handed down to the rest of the Volkswagen line. So I think the goal was for it to be their Halo car, but it's also kind of like the Phaeton. It's like, here's the secret backdoor way to buy an Audi, like without it being full Audi money. Buy an Arteon instead, and it's like a big secret that it's as good as the Audi without being one. But because of that, kind of stands on its own. It's weird.
So I'm just checking out the website here. They actually stopped making the Golf R. I guess it's not a current year model.
Correct.
Well, by the ultimate litmus test, I mean the Golf R made people buy GTIs for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
And GTIs,
I think,
made people buy a lot of Golfs.
This is a good. This is a good example, I think, to Tristan's point, like he brought up with Honda, though, with the stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I really don't think Volkswagen needs one. I think they're good as they are, but if they were to do one, like what they did with the GTI W12 or something similar to that, where they just take the GTI and make it not a hot hatch, but like a fucking flaming hot hatch, would be
flaming hot Cheeto hatch.
Yeah, would be.
Wait, that's my mouth.
I don't want to talk about your mouth.
That's the episode title. Hatch? Either one of those phrases. Flamin' hot Cheeto hatch or wait, that's my mouth.
Only thing I'll be calling my mouth from now on.
So
before dinner, I prepared a little Amuse Flamin' Hot Cheeto hatch.
Gross.
but anyway, I think Volkswagen hit it with that concept, and if they would actually bring something like that similar to it to production, that would be a perfect Halo that fits that brand. But I don't think they need to do it. Another one I want to put towards you, which is weird. I want to put this up in the chat for you guys, but they did a version of this for Gran Turismo, their Vision Gran Turismo GTI. If they would bring this out in real life, I would be a very happy human. I'm going to throw a couple pictures up again for you guys in the chat where I put the M1 concept. This thing looks awesome.
Who made that GTI so fat?
Yeah, it's a wide body GTI, all-wheel drive with 502 horsepower. Like, I think if they would do something like this, they'd be sitting real pretty. And I'll throw
I mean, that's kind of like a supercharged, well, not supercharged because it probably wasn't supercharged, but a larger than life Golf R. I keep wanting to call it the Type R.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this would definitely fit the bill.
And I'll throw that up on the socials, at least on Facebook for you guys after the episode is released, so you can see what I'm talking about. But You can just go to Google search Volkswagen Vision Gran Turismo. It's the one they made for the game, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, it's not needed. Like, I think they're fine where they're at. They're not a Halo car company. As Tristan said, it'll just make the buyer think about their brands. But if they were,
Yeah, well, I mean, like
I
in the
think
Golf R
something
and
like
even
this would be awesome.
the GTI, can count as Halo cars because it's like, oh, I want a GTI, but I bought a Golf and then modified it or whatever. Like,
Right.
You can start there. Like you can start at a Golf or a Jetta and aspire easily to a GLI or a GTI, and I think that's part of what makes a Halo car go.
So what if, Tristan, to that point, Volkswagen just beefs up their aftermarket performance part options, and then it almost becomes a build your own Halo. You can make the Halo what you want it to be.
Well, I mean, that's almost edging in on like the Dodge Mopar model, right?
Yeah, the first thing it made me think of, weirdly enough, is Scion. Which then immediately made me go, mm-mm.
Yeah, but they also didn't have good engines.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. All right, we've blabbed around for almost long enough. Let's do a little lightning round here. Just a yes or no on whether the brand has a Halo car.
Has or needs?
Whether it has one.
Okay.
Mercedes.
It had one.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
It's got a lot of really nice ones.
What was their Halo car?
The AMG GT.
Oh, yeah. Sure. All right. Tesla.
No.
Toyota.
No.
Not Toyota itself, no. I mean, Supra, maybe.
Well, I mean, so
I don't know if that's Halo status.
Lexus has one. I would say no to the Supra.
Well, especially because the Supra is a BMW. Also, it's not even their car.
That's very fair. A brand that no one ever thinks about, Infinity. No, obviously don't. Kia, no.
No, and I think they're kind of like Volkswagen, or I don't know if they need one. Like the Stinger is their performance one, but it's not a Halo.
Well, they also tried with that super luxury car that no one bought.
That's true.
K500 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Let's see what other ones do we actually have here? What about Alpha? They used to with the 4C, and then they realized that was a dumb idea and no one bought it, so they stopped. Right?
Was the 4C a Halo, though?
I don't know. I said it, and now I don't know if I believe it.
And don't they still have it?
They better not.
Still making it?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, my God. I'm just going to pretend they stopped.
Man, I wouldn't say there's a Halo in Alpha's lineup either.
No, I'd say they're more of a Halo brand.
Okay.
You buy a Fiat thinking that maybe someday you'll buy an Alfa Romeo.
That's a good point.
What about Volvo?
Maybe the new Polestar.
I was just going to say the Polestars, I think they're trying to position it that way. I don't know if they've achieved it yet.
I think pushing its technology envelope, drawing people to the brand, I could see that. I could buy that. Not the car, the idea.
Ask me that question again in 5 to 10 years. We'll see if Polestar's really established itself.
Well, yeah, hopefully. And the last one we should probably talk about just a little bit more before we get out of here. A brand that I can't believe we forgot about. What about Ford?
Well, they're not producing the GT anymore, are they?
They don't.
The Raptor. it drives a lot of truck sales below the Raptor.
That is super true.
Not like they need
absolutely
any more, and it was one of their first really serious applications of EcoBoost.
Also true. So I think that's definitely a good point. And now they're actually expanding that into other trucks to sell more of them and more of them down market.
Yeah, Ranger Raptors.
I was gonna say Ranger Raptor's coming.
Which that's a great name. I love that.
Ranger Raptor.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, Ranger Raptor reporting for duty. Yeah.
Does Ford need to bring back the GT? I mean, I know they don't make cars, but do they need to do that? When are we seeing that again? Basically, it's like been once every 5 years or something.
Every quarter century of their anniversary of winning Le Mans the first time.
They make a push for a new one.
Okay.
Yep. So this last one was for the 50th anniversary. So in another 20-ish years, we'll have an announcement when it's getting close to the 75th anniversary.
Oh, jeez.
By
then they might have brought cars back.
What about the Mustang?
What about the Mustang?
I feel like it drives a lot of sales, of, I guess the higher end Mustangs drive a lot of sales of the lower end Mustangs.
I disagree. I think the lower end Mustangs drive a lot of sales of the lower end Mustangs themselves.
Maybe just Mustangs drive sales of other Mustangs.
Yes. Also, the Shelby is not an aspirational vehicle, and they don't even make it anymore, I don't think.
No. Certainly, I don't know about them making it.
That's an interesting one. Because, I would still probably say the Raptor over the Mustang, because I always kind of line the Mustang with the Camaro, and Chevrolet's got a car above it. Ford did too up until last year, right? But I don't think just because the GT is gone, that automatically makes Mustang a halo.
Okay, they actually do still make the GT 500 right now, the Shelby. But what about the oh God, I just forgot. What's the Mach-E, the Mustang Mach-E?
Or as I heard somebody misread it, the Maish. I forgot about that until you said it. I heard it read on a news report as the Mustang Maish, and I was like, "What?
Should I bring the Maish around, sir?" The Mustang Maish.
Mustang Mache.
I think my answer there is the same as Polestar. I think
give it a while.
Give it a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Ugh, this trim is called the California Route 1. I hate this car. I just hate it.
Which car?
The Maish, the Mustang Maish. One of the so here are the trims: First Edition, Select, Premium, GT.
Okay, good so far.
And California Route 1.
Out of nowhere.
Just
nope. Get out of here.
One day for no reason at all.
But
the first result I get when I search for Mach-E without putting Ford in front of it first is a negative speed.
Really?
Yes. I just put it in the chat.
Well, that's quite quick.
Wait, what?
Mach, if you put in Mach-E the way Ford spells it, Google gives you negative 932.37 meters per second.
It's going very fast in reverse.
very fast backwards. Anyway, because I was just going to look up the
California Route 1.
California Route 1.
Like it, love it, gotta have it.
But henceforth, we will only refer to this as the Maish.
Clearly.
The Maish.
We will no longer say Mach-E.
I don't know if it was because it was like they missed the dash in the copy that the person was reading or what, but it was I was dying.
All right, so it's not that. It's not the Maish. I guess it has to be the Raptor for sure.
Yep. I would agree.
All right. I mean, there are more brands. Does Hyundai have a Halo car?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, they do. Definitely, yeah. Well, or whatever. they're kind of setting themselves up for a line. But right now in America, it's definitely the Veloster N / i30N overseas.
Yeah. Yep.
Lexus, yes.
Yep, we talked about them, and I think with Hyundai, we talked about them with Dodge. Like they have a Halo engine / drivetrain. I would consider more than just the car.
That's true. Has anyone ever heard of a brand called Lincoln?
Nope.
Okay, me neither.
They make the trucks named after the cars named after torpedoes, right?
Is that true?
Mark whatever. I'm just joking. It's Iron Man suits, actually.
Okay, now there you go. See, that's a reference I understand. I don't know boat stuff.
I do. Boat things.
Yes, we know. We
Ship
know
stuff.
you know.
Boat business and ship stuff.
Guys, that's kind of most of the brands, or the ones that matter anyway.
Well, and we've kept people for damn near 2 hours too, so I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, sounds fair.
So so what we've really established is Halo car needs to be aspirational as far as just people wanting them over everything else. They need to be the leading edge of technology for the company. They need to drive sales, influence sales, down market with other models within that brand. Is there anything else I'm missing?
It does not have to be the most expensive car, but they do have to be relevant to the era. Like having a Halo car 10 years ago is great, but it definitely doesn't help you now.
It no longer really counts as a Halo car at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just your best car at that point.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, I meant to talk about Porsche. Whatever. Maybe we can do that some other time. They're a weird case.
I would say 918, but they're probably not producing that either.
Well, exactly. And then is it just a sexy 911 or what does it take? Anyways.
I mean, would the GT2 RS be?
I don't know.
Eesh.
Take
That's a tough one.
Taycan. It's probably the Taycan. Right now, it's got to be.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if it
As much
checks
as
all of our
pains
Halo
me to-
car boxes, but driving.
I'm not
sales,
excited. Yeah, I'm not excited to admit it. It pains me to say it, but you're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now that's all the car brands.
Okay, yeah, we got through them now. We had a false alarm there. But,
Yeah.
All right, folks, let's get you out here. First, we just got to remind you again how to get a hold of us on socials. I already talked about Facebook. Be like Sean. Reach out to us on Facebook. Message us there. Check Engine Podcast. Search us there. Andrew, where can they find us on Twitter?
At Check Engine Pod.
Tristan, how about Instagram?
at Check Engine Pod.
So be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM, reach out how and when you can. Give us your take on some of these brands that we talked about here with the Halo cars or trucks. Let us know what you think a Halo car for a certain brand should look like. Give us ideas for other episodes. Do what you want, but just
Tell
get in
us
touch
why
with
you
us.
hate being
Thank you in
Vivian.
advance. And thank you for sticking with us today. And thank you for sticking with us today. It was a long one. We appreciate you listening. But again, we don't want you just to listen. We want to interact with you. As you're listening on your favorite streaming platform, be sure to leave us a review, preferably a good one, and or hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you'll get notified of any new content that we put out. If you're really into what we're doing and would like to support us monetarily, you can do that as well. You can either go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast or head to anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast, where the show is hosted, and hit the support button next to our logo. Every cent pledged is put towards making this a better experience for you, and none of it goes back to us. Gentlemen, who or what are we thanking before we get out of here?
I would like to thank the inventor of the safety razor, because I'm about to shave this horrible beard off, and that's going to be just so great.
I think you should let it grow a little bit longer, man.
No.
Yes. Tristan?
Hmm.
Did I catch you off guard again?
Well,
Did
not
you
off
not
guard.
know
I knew
this
it
was coming?
I knew it was coming. I didn't make it a difference. I'd like to thank the inventor of acetaminophen. I've thanked drugs before.
Yeah, don't do drugs,
Um,
kids.
But I am day one immediately after the second dose of my COVID shot, and the acetaminophen is the only thing that's done anything, and it has allowed me to mostly survive today. So it's a big shout out to, if you're British, paracetamol. If you're anybody else, acetaminophen. And if you don't know what those are, it's Tylenol. So
Just say Tylenol.
But that's just the trade name.
I didn't take Tylenol. I took acetaminophen from somewhere. I don't even know. Found it on the ground. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, there you go. I would actually like to thank the Vision Gran Turismo project, because that was one of the first spots I looked for inspiration for this episode, and it actually worked quite well. So thanks to the folks at Gran Turismo and their Vision GT concept. And as always, thank you listeners for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to do this again. Until then, take care.